Claire, I want to start with this. I want to play you some sound here. Trump disparages the city of Detroit while in Detroit. And I want to play this and get your thoughts on the other side.
The whole country is going to be like, you want to know the truth? It'll be like Detroit. Our whole country will end up being like Detroit if she's your president. You're going to have a mess on your hands.
Now, Claire, I know you're from the Midwest. I grew up in the Midwest. There's sometimes a tendency to pit the state against the major city, right? There might be people who are running in northern Missouri who are like, I didn't like St. Louis or something else like that. But what do you think Trump is trying to do here? I mean, I'm sorry, but Detroit is actually a city that's had a bit of a renaissance. Many of these business people make their money in Detroit. Does he think he's dog whistling in some shape, way, or form? I don't see how you can dog the city to the very men and women who are making that city right in front of them.
Yeah, it was kind of bizarre when you looked at the shot, Jason. He is right in front of him. The podium he's speaking from says Detroit Economic Club. And he's basically trashing Detroit. Listen, there are a lot of people who know how important Detroit is to Michigan that don't live in Detroit. And his appearances yesterday were a new level of muddled, rambling, angry, grievance, dark BS. And I think tonight we're going to see a contrast of somebody who knows how to do soaring oratory better than anybody in the country, that knows how to inspire people and challenge people to reach for their better angels and not dig it down and slither around like snakes, trying to make people who aren't necessarily just like them the bad guys. It really is astounding to me that he continues to try to divide this country and make everyone who is not in his base, which is essentially a lot of white men. If they're not a white man, he is willing to go places that no other presidential candidate in history has been willing to go.
Yeah, Claire, it was almost like just like reverse Spinal Trap, where he doesn't know what city he's in, so he just starts insulting places and not, it's like, I guess if you wanted to attack Detroit and you were in Cleveland, it would make a lot more sense of what he was doing. Cornell, I want to ask you this. Sticking with Michigan, it's an absolutely essential state. Whichever candidate wins Michigan has a better chance of actually winning the presidential election. But turnout in Detroit itself has always been kind of a tricky issue. Trump support in the area is very, very low, but Democrats have to get high turnout. From what you're seeing in polls, that's one thing. What have you heard about GOTV in Detroit? Do you think Democrats have a good idea as to what it's going to take to get 50, maybe even 55% turnout in the Detroit metro area?
Well, if they don't have a good idea, brother, they better find that. They better find one, because let's be clear, you don't win that state without strong and robust turnout in Detroit, in that urban area. Look, if you look at go back in 2016, not only did you have low turnout, but you also had a notable segment of that Detroit metropolitan area voting third party. That all leads to calamity. Look, they're going to have that base vote in Detroit matching the turnout of the suburbs and the rural areas. And the problem for Democrats has been, if you go back and look at turnout from 2008 and 2012, just look at African-American turnout has dropped off most dramatically in those urban areas, be it Milwaukee is another prime example of it, where it's just not coming close to where it was in 2012. If the turnout in these major metropolitan areas comes to what it was in 2012, and given the growth that we see in the suburbs and how the suburbs are becoming more competitive, it makes Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania tougher for Republicans to win in those states. But they got to have African-American turnout there matching or awfully close to what white turnout is. If they don't, they're in trouble.
Hillary Clinton got about 48% turnout in Metro Detroit. Joe Biden got about 51% turnout in Metro Detroit. That's what's necessary. I want to flip now to another key state in this election, another swing state. Juanita, I want to play you some sound from the debate last night between Ruben Gallego and Kari Lake.
Come on.
Highly interesting. And get your thoughts on the other side when he asked her the same question that a lot of election-denying Republicans still seem to not have an answer to. Get your thoughts on the other side.
he doesn't really care about women's rights. If he cared about women's rights, first of all, I'm astounded that he actually knows the difference between a woman and a man, because I thought there were, 147 different genders. I want to make sure that UVF is protected. I have many friends who are here. They're my friends today because of UVF. And I have many of my friends who have had children and experienced the joy of motherhood and parenthood because of UVF.
She's still in denial about the 2022 election. And now I give you 1 minute. You have 1 minute. Will you finally tell the people of Arizona, did you win or lose that election?
Can I talk about water really quickly?
Make me swear, make me holler. She would rather talk about water. Look, it was a terrible answer, and you would think that Republicans are prepared for this particular point. What does it say that we're 26 days away from the election? I want to ask you both to start with Juanita, then to Sarah. The Republicans still don't have an answer.
Because their playbook has been founded on depriving women and pregnant people of their basic rights. There is no pivot here, Jason. This is what it is, and they have to own it. In that clip alone, you got transphobia. You got, I think she was talking about IVF. She said UVF. Maybe she's confused on that. And then we have election denier statements with a pivot to water. I call that move from Rep. Gallego the Tim Walz 1-2 punch. He did the same move against J.D. Vance, and what you get is a wonderful clip that Democrats can splice in with other footage of election denying statements from Kari Lake and run wall to wall for the next 26 days.